some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score.
It's quite hard to feel too much sympathy for Jimmy Kimmel, who only makes jokes about Republicans and only gives airtime to Democrats on what masquerades as a show for all Americans. The conservatives are doing cancel culture now.
When the king of controversy meets the late-night king, sparks fly. Piers Morgan went into a full meltdown on Jimmy Kimmel, leaving the internet in a frenzy. Fired up and thoroughly embarrassed, Morgan faced jaw-dropping comebacks, savage burns, and moments so wild you have to wonder if Jimmy even saw them coming. From shocking exchanges to hilarious chaos, every second of the encounter kept viewers talking and
days of frenzied debate about state censorship and conservative cancel culture. There was some contrition but no apology and a crystal clear message that free speech is under attack.
Enjoying this? Hit that subscribe button, it helps more than you realize. Think late night TV is all laughs and harmless jokes? Think again, because Jimmy Kimmel just found out that getting fired doesn't grant immunity from humiliation. Enter Piers Morgan, armed with sarcasm, sharper than a chef's knife on Gordon Ramsay's show, who didn't just criticize, he dismantled, annihilated, and left Jimmy flailing like a cat in a room full of
the last 6 days. I've heard from all the people in the world over the last 6 days. Everyone I have ever met has reached out 10 or 11 times. Weird characters from my past. The guy who fired me from my first radio job in Seattle, where we are not airing tonight, by the way, sorry Seattle. His name is Larry. In 1989, Larry tried to force me to do a bit called Jokes for Donuts, where people would call in with a joke and I would give them donuts. I refused to do it, and I made a lot of fun of Larry for suggesting it, and eventually Larry fired me and I had to move back in with my parents. But even he wrote in to cheer me up. Thank you, Larry, and I want to thank everyone who checked in. It would take all week to list all of them, but some that I do especially want to mention are my fellow late night talk show hosts, my friend Stephen Colbert, who's found himself in this predicament, my friends Jon Stewart, Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon, John Oliver, Conan O'Brien, James Corden, Arsenio, Kathy, Wanda, Chelsea, even Jay. I don't agree with many of those people on most subjects. Some of the things they say even make me want to throw up. It takes courage for them to speak out against this administration, and they did.
What began innocently enough for so Kimmel thought quickly spiraled out of control. Yes, getting fired stung and bruised his ego, but nobody warned him that Piers Morgan, a human hurricane of savage commentary, was about to strike with the subtlety of a wrecking ball in a glass factory. Every tweet, comment, and side-eyed reaction was a perfectly aimed missile, and Jimmy's attempts at humor, though cute, bounced harmlessly off Piers's
Flash Trump on network TV in return for a $50 million salary. But that doesn't mean he's wrong about everything. The glee about his suspension by some free speech superfans was hypocritical, and the pressure from the FCC was outrageous and unacceptable. Government controls on ideas and speech are not just anti-American, they're anti-democratic and they're dangerous. That's why I fully expect all of the people who cried fascism and autocracy this week to condemn the news that the Biden administration bullied Google into closing down YouTube accounts it didn't like. That's a pretty huge free speech scandal about a platform which has an audience 50.
Now picture a grown man desperately trying to defend himself while the internet collectively loses its mind. That's Kimmel right now. Piers wasn't merely pointing out mistakes. He was rolling out a full highlight reel of late-night flops, awkward pauses, and cringeworthy moments that even Jimmy probably wishes he could erase. Meanwhile, the audience is reveling in every second, flooding social media with gifts, memes, and practically scripting the obituary for Jimmy's pride in real time.
Many cancelled TV stars that he didn't like who always...
And here's the kicker. Piers wasn't subtle. No hints, no polite nudges. He went full demolition mode. Kimmel tried his usual charm, the "I'm still funny" routine, but it was like bringing a plastic spoon to a gunfight. Piers shredded every excuse, every weak punchline, every feeble attempt to save face. It wasn't just obliteration, it was performance art in humiliation. Fans are replaying it like a season finale cliffhanger, except the cliff is actually a canyon Kimmel is plummeting into. The reactions were priceless. Fellow late-night hosts squirming, fans eating popcorn like it was the Olympics of chaos, and Twitter erupting into a war zone with Piers crowned undefeated champion while Jimmy walked away with a participation trophy. You could almost hear the collective sigh of, "Well, that happened," echoing across the internet. as Jimmy likely tried to figure out how to unsend every public statement he's ever made. And it didn't stop there, because in the age of social media, getting roasted once is amateur hour. Piers delivered follow-up strikes faster than Kimmel could respond. 1 minute Jimmy thinks he's landing a witty comeback, the next he's digitally facepalming as Piers's tweet goes viral. This wasn't just career critique, it was a masterclass in strategic, sarcastic destruction, and the wild part, people are cheering it on like it's the Super Bowl halftime show.
And insensitive, TV stations said they'd refuse to air his show, forcing the network to make a choice. As with Colbert's Late Show, this was an expensive production with falling ratings. It's frankly impossible to imagine a time in the past decade when a network host would not have been cancelled for offending the liberal orthodoxy. But that's why it's complicated. Liberals created and enforced cancel culture, often with enormous glee. Many of them feel conservatives are now doing it too.
Piers relied on subtle humiliation rather than shouting or theatrics, wielding his most effective weapon, relentless.com, razor-sharp observation. Every awkward joke, forced smile, and desperate attempt at relatability from Kimmel was meticulously catalogued and displayed like an exhibit in the Museum of Cringe. Watching it unfold is equal parts horrifying and mesmerizing, like a car crash you can't look away from, only complete with perfectly timed quips and devastating punchlines. The irony is delicious. Kimmel, who spent decades critiquing and roasting celebrities, has become the punchline himself, the target of a masterfully orchestrated comedic takedown that hits career, ego, brand, and fan base in one smooth, unrelenting sweep. And every time Kimmel tries to wiggle free, the internet is right there, reminding him exactly where he stands, slightly behind Piers in the Who's Got the Sharper Tongue.
That's a pretty huge free speech scandal about a platform which has an audience 1,500 times bigger than Kimmel's. But so far the outrage about that has been pretty well non-existent, a bit like Kimmel's sympathy for the many cancelled TV stars that he didn't like, who always skew to the right. Well, here to debate this is comedian and host of Fox News on Saturday night, Jimmy Fallon, the CPAC chairman, Matt Schlapp, Daniel Coe, the former senior advisor to President Biden, now host of the People's Cabinet.
And there are the memes turning Jimmy into every humiliating scenario imaginable. Side-eyeing cats, spilled coffee tumbleweeds rolling across empty stages. Each one lands like a digital hammer, reinforcing Piers's point and cementing Kimmel as the star exhibit of modern online humiliation. Just when you might expect a pause, a chance for dignity, Piers keeps going, layering critiques like a master chef of sarcastic destruction. Every social media post, commentary segment, and even the tiniest acknowledgement of Kimmel's existence becomes a perfectly seasoned reminder that being fired alone isn't enough. Why not add a dash of public obliteration for flavor? Every attempted defense crumbles, every comeback misfires, and Piers's relentless presence dominates the digital battlefield. Amid all the chaos, one lesson stands clear. Never underestimate Piers Morgan when the spotlight swings your way. His humor isn't just sharp, it's surgical. His timing isn't just perfect eats.
Network over a host the president had warned will be next. Well, President Trump played it down in his speech at Charlie Kirk's memorial.
Over the last 11 days, we have heard stories of commentators, influencers, and others in our society who greeted his assassination with sick approval, excuses, or even jubilation. And the same commentators who this week are screaming fascism over a canceled late-night TV show where the anchor had no talent and no ratings. Last week were implying that Charlie Kirk deserved what happened to him.
Well, he's right, the liberal outrage.
And his aim isn't just accurate, it's career to every tweet, post, and comment is a calculated strike designed to entertain, devastate, and keep viewers hooked. While Jimmy Kimmel is left to wrestle with the crushing irony, a man who built a career skewering others is now perfectly skewered himself. The humiliation is quiet, creeping, and undeniable, as the audience witnesses a rare moment when late-night comedy becomes a spectator sport and Piers Morgan emerges as the undisputed champion of chaos, wit, and total annihilation. Just when it seems over, it isn't. Piers doesn't quit. The takedown evolves with new tweets, commentary, and evidence that Jimmy may have severely underestimated a man who doesn't just speak, he obliterates. Every misstep, awkward laugh, and failed deflection is cataloged, replayed, and amplified for maximum comedic effect, and the audience knows it, reveling in every second. The takeaway: fired isn't fatal, but being roasted by Piers Morgan, that's legendary. In the age of social media, reputations are made, broken, and memmed into eternity.
It will all play out yet. My view of it, for what it's worth, is people talk a lot about free speech, and the reality about free speech is I don't think it should be criminalized or governed by government unless people actually say criminal stuff. In other words, if I say I'm plotting to kill you, Bill O'Reilly, tomorrow night at your home, that's clearly something which crosses the line. It shouldn't be covered by...
Just got a masterclass in what happens when humor meets unrelenting sarcasm, and the results are chaotic, hilarious, and utterly addictive. As the dust settles, one thing is clear: Piers Morgan didn't just go after Jimmy. He rewrote the rules of late-night humiliation, proving that sometimes the pen, or, in this case, the tweet, is mightier than the ego. Just when it seems Kimmel might catch a break, Piers drops another digital bomb. Pure, unfiltered, front-row or embarrassment chaos. Imagine your entire career sliced into bite-sized clips, seasoned with sarcasm, and served back to you while the world watches. That's exactly what's happening. Jimmy's attempts at recovery are like putting a band-aid on a sinking cruise ship. Cute, but utterly ineffective. Meanwhile, someone even photoshopped him as a tiny figure being blown away by a pear-shaped tornado. And honestly, it feels accurate. And the late-night world is watching from the sidelines. Some hosts whisper to producers, some frantically scroll through Twitter, and others just laugh like it's a live sitcom, witnessing one of the most brutal and mesmerizing...
They did, and they deserve credit for it. And thanks for telling their followers that our government cannot be allowed to control what we do and do not say on television, and that we have to stand up to it. I've been hearing a lot about what I need to say and do tonight, and the truth is, I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's
a strange mix of admiration and terror, because watching Piers dismantle Jimmy Kimmel isn't just entertainment, a masterclass in obliterating someone with style. The memes have reached peak chaos. Jimmy's shocked face merged with the Disaster Girl meme, an entire Jimmy vs. Piers video game trailer, and at least 15 viral TikTok dance challenges inspired by his awkward reactions alone. Every time someone tries to defend Jimmy, Piers casually drops another clip, adding fuel to the fire like a chef tossing ghost peppers into an already spicy dish. He even makes Kimmel's own fans question him. The people who once thought he could do no wrong are now sharing GIFs of his worst moments, laughing at clips they never noticed before, and asking, "Did he really say that?" It's like watching a slow motion collapse of confidence, each second more humiliating than the last. Piers isn't just criticizing, he's rewriting history, turning moments Jimmy thought were clever into comedic ammunition that hits harder than a linebacker in the Super Bowl.
A disgusting thing as he did about Charlie Kirk, but at the same time he's accountable to his employers, and that's where it gets interesting. And I know that you've got insight into how this went down. What I didn't like, Bill, in the process was the FCC chair, a pro-Trump political appointee, Brendan Carr, publicly kind of threatening, almost like a mafia don, kind of threatening we can do it the easy way or the hard way, because that looks like...
Then there's the imagined chaos behind the scenes. Picture Jimmy pacing his living room, muttering, "Maybe if I tweet a cat meme, it'll distract people," while Piers is probably sipping tea somewhere, smirking, fully aware that no distraction will work. Every attempt at humor, every caption, every desperate plea to fans is met with calm, surgical sarcasm. It's like a gladiator match where one player wields a sword and the other brings a butter knife, labeled confidence. Meanwhile, the media can't get enough, headlines exploding like fireworks. Piers Morgan delivers savage takedown of Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel humiliated on social media after firing. Late night chaos as Piers Morgan reigns supreme. News outlets scramble to cover it, often rehashing Piers's clips as breaking news, while Jimmy's attempts at spin fade into background noise. Piers isn't just attacking Kimmel, he's delivering the internet a show, a spectacle, a moment to remember, and the audience is devouring it, sharing every clip, laughing at every meme, and replaying every highlight like a trailer for the most dramatic show of the year.
And I don't think these serve their viewers, and I don't think they serve their companies. But I also feel uneasy, as Kat said, about the FCC poking its nose publicly into making not even veiled threats, but direct threats that if ABC, Disney didn't take action against Kimmel, then they were going to pay the consequences. So where do you sit with all this?
Listen, I'm new to your audience, so just to introduce myself, I am a tell it like it.
The humiliation becomes self-perpetuating, a snowball rolling down a mountain, gaining momentum in size with every reaction until it becomes a full-blown avalanche. Meanwhile, the internet is watching, popcorn in hand, loving every second. By the end, it's clear, Jimmy Kimmel may have been fired, but Piers Morgan has officially crowned himself the undefeated champion of late-night chaos. Social media continues to buzz, memes keep circulating, and Jimmy's attempts at humor are now part of a curated exhibition of perfect destruction. He's the unwilling star of the show, and the audience can't get enough.